Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my first video of 2021, which I'm excited because I want to start making more videos on this channel. I feel like I let it down. So this year is going to be my year to start making more videos. So today I have all the books that I read in the year of 2020. So if you guys want to know what I read last year, then keep on watching. I have to take out my Goodreads because that's where I have everything. Okay, so the first book that I read in June 1st actually of 2020, that's when I started reading again, and that's when I started making more videos on this channel. So the first book that I actually started off with was Gemba Better by Christine Riccio. Now this one, the reason why I started reading was because I had suddenly gone back to this channel and I went to go check out her channel, and then I saw that she had already completed the book. So I was like, oh wait, I forgot that she was writing a book. So I decided to read it. So it's about a girl named Shane who it's her first year of college, and she decides that she wants to study abroad. She goes to London and she meets new people. I'm not sure if it's her freshman year. I think I don't remember, but she is in college and she is pre-med. That's what her parents want to do, and that's nothing that she wants to do because she wants to write. Like, that's her passion. So she decides to lie, and basically she ends up going to London to study creative writing or just writing in general. And she meets all these people, and you know, she wants to get out there. She wants to get out of her box because she's so not very like the type of person to go out and do things. She doesn't really have much friends. She doesn't crazy things, and mainly because of her parents. And so she meets some friends, she goes out, she travels a lot over there in the United Kingdom. She falls in love. Well, she starts dating this one guy named Pilot. Her parents find out that she was lying. They go for her, and then there's a twist to this book, which is why I liked it. If it didn't have that little twist, I wouldn't have liked it. When she goes back to her old life, there's a moment where she meets this person in the beginning of the book who turns out to be like her guide angel, her little genie in a bottle, if you want to say that. But she time travels back a second time to her life, and she changes everything, and so she does what she wants to do, and she stands up for herself to her parents. And it's a really good story. You have to read it. I really enjoyed it. Then I read Goodbye from Nowhere by Sarah Zarr. This one I also read in June. This one, I wasn't a big fan of this book just because I felt that the characters were a little too young for what I liked. It was a male POV, which was interesting to me because I think it's the first book that I read with a male POV. So that's why I continued reading it. This one is about a teenager named Kyle who thinks his life is perfect, his family is perfect. You know, every summer they go and spend time with their grandparents' farm and ranch. However, things start to change in his life that are for the better and the worse. He finds something out about his parents that he just never imagined, and it kind of changed everything for him and the perspective of love and like everything in general. He becomes depressed, and it kind of overpowers him, and like he just becomes a whole different type of person. He was into, I think it was baseball, and he just quit. Like, this lie that he found out just changed his whole life completely. You see his point of view of the days that are going by after he finds out and what he does and what happens to him. I didn't like it just because I felt like the character was too boring. Like, he just complained a lot instead of not worrying about it. However, I understand that you worry about something like that, but to me it was more of like, what is he gonna do? Like, the situation already happened. Like, he can't do anything about it. Like, the problem is already too into the problem that he can't do anything about it. So it's more of like, I don't know, like, it was a little boring for me. It also felt weird because it seemed like he was really into his cousin, and his cousin, I believe, was asexual, so she didn't like boys or girls. So it was very confusing at first. I mean, he was very close to his girl cousin named Emily, but while reading it, I felt that he just started falling in love with her, and that was a little creepy to me, even though nothing happens between them, but it's just weird. Like, he even says it himself that he feels like jealous when someone else like talks to her. I don't know, it's weird. That book I had rated a 3 out of 5 stars because, like I said, it wasn't my cup of tea. Then in July I read Stay Gold by Toby McSmith. I believe this is their first book. Yeah, it's their debut book. I really like this book, and I recommend it to people who are wanting to know more about the LGBTQ plus community. This one is about a girl named Pony who is a male. She's transgender. How would you say that? See, this is why I need to read more books like this. They are transgender. In his old school, he would get bullied because they found out, and so he transferred to a new school. The only one who supports him is his sister. You know, he's from a military family, so the dad is very strict and very like, no, you are not gonna do that. I actually really enjoyed this book. Just like I said, I wanted to know more about this, so I felt that reading that book kind of helped me understand at least a transgender perspective of what their life is like when, you know, something like this happens to them, like the situation that happened to this person. And so I thought it was really good. I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to start reading more books about the LGBTQ plus community. It's a book that, it's a novel, so like obviously it's not more of like research book, it's more of like, it's a story basically. So if you want a research type book, I don't know if this one's for you. But I enjoyed it, like I said. And you basically go through their daily life of struggling, trying to hide their identity, and trying to figure out how to tell the person they love what has happened to them, because obviously the setting is in a very, I believe it's Texas, but it's the very like conservative Texas or area where it's like stuff like this is a no-no. And you see the way their friends, the Pony's friends, evolve and end up treating him and like all this stuff. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's more a book that you have to like go in not knowing much about it, because it's not that it's like a impacting book, but it's more of like a learning type of thing. So at least that's how I put it. The fourth book that I read was The Wicker King by Kate Ankrum, and this book I also read in July. Now this book, I really enjoyed it. It was a psychological mystery thriller book, and I started recently getting into those kind of books just because there's something about them that I really like the mystery of. So that was the first book that I read that was a psychological thriller slash mystery. So it was the book that started everything, and I thought that this book was a perfect book to start things with. So if you're not that type of person who likes those kind of books, I highly recommend to actually read this book, because it's also kind of a fantasy in a world of psychological aspects, because two best friends, both male, August and Jack. Jack has I have to read it because I don't know how to say it, but degenerative hallucinatory disorder. I think there's a specific name for that, but that's how they explain it. And he starts hallucinating, and it's basically Jack hallucinating in a fantasy world where the Wicker King is taking over, and he has to do a prophecy to save the world basically. So August starts to question him, and he starts worrying about him a lot, so he tries to find help for him, and they end up in the, you know, crazy place. So it's a very good story. I also recommend going in not knowing much about it, just because it's one of those books that like instantly like catch your attention from the beginning. This book I actually gave a 5 out of 5 star because that's how much I love this book, and it's in my top tiers right now. Now the next book that I read in July, I wanted a fun, loving, like cheerful book, because after reading The Wicker King I was like, okay, that's too much for me. So I read I'll Be the One by Lila Lee, and I love this book. I love it being a plus size girl. I really enjoyed this one. I also give it a 5 out of 5 stars. This one's basically a cake pop world, and there's a competition for dancing and singing. This girl named Sky, she is plus size and she is Korean. Her mom doesn't like her doing any of that stuff because her mom believes that fat people shouldn't be doing any of those things. So she tries to prove a point and gets into the competition in both doing the dancing and the singing. I believe a very, very popular Korean person who is rich, I think a millionaire, gets into the competition as well. So you don't only see the struggle of what a rich person has to go through to make their own name, but what a plus size person has to do to prove people wrong. And I thought that that was like the best book to read during that time. It was very motivational to me. I thought it was motivational, and there's so many things that Sky says in the book that I'm just like, yes girl, yes, preach. I really recommend it to people who want an uplifting book and want something cheerful and happy. This book is it. I definitely recommend it. It's also in my top tier books right now. August, I read Until Friday Night by Abby Glines. It's the first book to the Field Party series. And the reason why I picked up that book was because she has a 5th book or a 4th book. So I was like, I want to read them because I have the 3 books. So I'm like, might as well start them. They're very fast to read. So, however, I did give this book a 3 out of 4 stars because it's okay. It's a cleanse palette book. At least that's how I see it, because it's not a book that you're just gonna be like, oh my god, you know. It's those books where it's just like when you read a heavy book, you just want to read something, you just don't know what it is. That's the kind of book to read, because it's an instant love kind of book. So if you don't like that trope, you're not gonna enjoy it. It's one of those kind of books where it's instant love and they're teenagers, and you know, it's all about like finding your first love and all that cuteness. It follows 2 characters named West and Maggie. Maggie moves in with her cousin. She happens to be mute for a very serious situation that happened to her a while back, and she doesn't talk to anyone, not even her family members. And West is a jock, popular football player, and he's struggling at the moment with his family, and no one really knows about it because he doesn't want anyone to pity him. And you know, they both connect in that situation. They start talking to each other by accident because cousin is also popular and in the football team, and they go to the field to do a party like every Friday and every weekend, I guess. It goes by force, but she happens to meet West there, and they start talking. More of like he starts talking and she only listens, because at first she doesn't say anything, but then she actually starts talking to him, which he's amazed because he really thought that she was mute. But then she tells him her situation, and so that's the way that they connect. Cute in the sense of that she found someone that she could connect with in the most horrific way possible, but it's crazy how you connect to someone that way. More of a cleanse palette book, so if you're looking for something quick and easy to read, that's the book that I recommend. Now, the book that I did start reading in August, but I never finished it until November, was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This book, I do give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The reason why I didn't get it a 5 stars is because I wanted more. I wanted more steamy stuff, okay? This one follows a character named Chloe Brown who has a chronic illness, and so it's her day-to-day life of her finally being independent and not having to have people around her 24/7 asking her, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you need this? Do you need that? Like, she wants to live her life because she's a grown woman, and she finally gets her own place. And there's a man there who happens to be like, I guess, a janitor slash helper slash, what do you call those people? Handyman, who live in her condo, and his name is Red, and he sounds fine, and I think he is because he has red hair and has tattoos, and he's tall. And so she has a list that she wants to do and finish before the year ends, I believe, because she wants to finally start her own life. So he helps her with it. In exchange, she helps him with the website because he used to be an artist, but something bad happened in his life that just made him not want to do it anymore. And he's very, very good. So she helps him make a website for free so that he could start selling his stuff again. And obviously their love evolves, and I really enjoyed this book more because they were actually adults. They were grown ass people, and so their love relationship was completely different than when you would read in like a young adult book, like for teenagers or whatever. So I enjoyed it. There is some steamy scenes there, just FYI, but trust me, you will enjoy that too. I really recommend that book. I actually really enjoyed it, and it's not in my top tiers, but it's a book that I would read it again. I'm not the type of person who reads books twice, but that one I would read again. Then there's a book that I started reading in June. The problem with that one is that it took me forever to read. It took me until November to finish it, and it's If I Never Meet You by Mary McFarlane. Now this one, I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's not my cup of tea. I did not enjoy it as much as Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It is an adult book, so maybe that's why. But this one, I found it so boring. Like, it was so boring to me. I didn't enjoy it. Like, fake dating trope. I am and I'm not a fan of that trope, depending on how the story goes. This one, I didn't enjoy it. It's about a woman named Lori who has been in a relationship with the same guy since high school. They were high school sweethearts. You know, they move in together, they're living together, but she wants a family and he doesn't, and they're both lawyers, so they're very busy. Turns out that he emotionally starts a relationship with some other woman, and she's like, what the heck? And then the bitch gets pregnant. So it's kind of a crazy story, because the one thing she wanted and he didn't want, he ended up doing it with someone else. So she kind of gets upset, but then she starts going out with Jamie Carter, who is the bad boy of the place that they work at. So they really didn't expect that relationship to happen. Her reputation is very good, so people did not expect that at all. And they end up falling in love, obviously. And I think they do get together. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But it's not my cup of tea. I don't like it. I mean, you could read it if you want, but it was boring to me. Like, it honestly was so boring to me. Like, it took forever, and like, I don't know. I didn't like it. So there's that. Then the next book that I read was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This one is another psychological thriller book, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I find it interesting because it's about a girl named Ellie who disappears, and you see the perspective of both Ellie when she was being kidnapped, and then of the mom of years later trying to figure out and cope with the situation, because she doesn't believe that her daughter is dead, but she's trying to figure out how her daughter got kidnapped and who it was, because the police think that she ran away because they made the situation look like she did, but she didn't. Mom starts actually dating someone else because the parents get divorced because of the situation, and so she starts dating someone else, and turns out that guy has a daughter who looks exactly like Ellie. So she tries to figure out why she looks exactly like her daughter, and it's crazy. You find out some crazy stuff, and if you actually pay attention, you would actually know who was the person who kidnapped her from the very beginning. So yeah, it was a really good book, and I highly recommend it. Last book that I read last year was in November, and it's called We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Now this one I also gave a 5 out of 5 stars, and I want this book to be a movie. I would think I would enjoy the movie. It's about a teenage girl named Cadence whose family has a private island. In that island they have like 4 different houses, because the grandparents have like 3 girls, and each girl has, well, they have 3 daughters, and each one of the daughters has their own home. So every summer they go and visit them, and so she gets to see her cousins, and one day one of her cousins brings a friend who ends up coming every year after that, and she falls in love with him. And well, they're teenagers, but obviously they don't really date. But it's a very good story. It's also, I believe, a thriller book, and I highly recommend it, because it's one of those stories that you just don't see coming. I mean, you do and you don't if you actually pay attention, but it's one of those books that I really enjoyed, and like I said, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because that's how good I enjoyed it. And I actually finished this book in 2 days. So those are all the books that I read last year in the year of 2020. If you guys read any of the books, let me know what you guys thought about them in the comments below. I will be having another video coming up of all the books that I want to read this year, so stay tuned for that. And if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know and give it a like, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!